Hey guys, welcome back to the Spector Creative channel. I'm a Lego representation of Scott, Toy Guru Neitlich, and well, I've mentioned a lot of times the reason that I kind of started this video was because of the COVID lockdown. I was looking for something to do. I mean, we were all a little bored. Some of us went more extreme.
Pizza slice. Anybody want some pizza? Oh, anybody want a pizza slice?
Okay, yeah, well, I didn't exactly do this, but I used the YouTube channel really as a promotion for my business, my consulting business, that really looks at the emotional connection between consumers and helps develop better toy product. Now, this wasn't the only thing I did during COVID. I'm also a very avid reader and book collector. Much like I collect toys, I also like to collect leather-bound books, slowly over time. Now, one of my favorite stories is League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which most people probably know from the live-action movie, Sean Connery's final film. Now, I'm actually talking about the original graphic novel, first comic books, but then graphic novels that were written by Alan Moore. Amazing, amazing story. And we're obviously, spoiler alert for anyone who has not read League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or seen the movie, we will be discussing both. So if you don't want to know anything about the stories, get out now. All right, so League continued beyond the movie. There were more comic books that actually brought it all the way up into the 19th and 20th centuries. I like the first two storylines, especially because of all of the Easter eggs. I mean, we talk about Easter eggs being in movies like Avengers, etc., but wow. So going back to the point of this video, one of the things I did during COVID was I said, what if I read every book that was referenced in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? Would I appreciate the storyline more? Would I like it more? Now, the main characters are all from very famous Victorian novels that a lot of us may have read in high school, but there's more characters beyond that. We have Mia, who is from Dracula. We have Captain Nemo from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. We have the Invisible Man from, well, actually from the Invisible Man, sort of, and then, of course, from Robert Hager's King Solomon's Mines, Alan Quartermine, who's a little older now, and then Edward Hyde from the The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Now, in the movie, more characters were added. Part of this was to make it more acceptable to an American audience, so they added characters like Tom Sawyer because, he's an American kid. Now, Tom actually does have sequels to his book, Tom Sawyer Abroad and Tom Sawyer Detective, so his role in the movie was actually correct to the sequel books, but they're not as well known. Other characters beyond the main, of course, show up, Sherlock Holmes being one of the more prominent ones, even though he's only in it for a couple pages. He has a very important role. And then, of course, the main villain is Fu Manchu from Sam Raimi's mystery books. And then the sequel story combines aspects of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds with other sci-fi novels of the Victorian age. And this is really kind of where the payoff starts to get big because, well, exploring these books, I wound up discovering some amazing gems like Gulliver of Mars by Edwin Arnold and Robar the Conqueror by Jules Verne, which has now become one of my favorite sci-fi stories of all time. As I mentioned, the second story gets really sci-fi by combining elements of things like John Carter in Mars and Gulliver on Mars with War of the Worlds, very brilliantly, taking two completely different Martian stories and mashing them together. So this is kind of what I mean by the Easter eggs. And my real question was, yes, is it going to be worth it to track down and read all of these books that are referenced? And I can tell you, wow, yes, it was. I wasn't expecting it, but for example, in this shot of Alan Quartermine looking at a statue of Aisha from She, which is also by the same author, Robert Hager. So you have things like Nemo being revealed to worship Kali, like from Temple of Doom, but that doesn't come out until The Mysterious Island, another Jules Verne book, or Dupin, the pre-Sherlock Holmes detective showing up. One of my absolute favorites, the Island of Dr. Moreau, who combined animals and humans. What Moore does with it is he actually makes Dr. Moreau the reason for all of those talking animal stories, like Wind in the Willows or Brer Rabbit or Peter Rabbit, Mother Goose. To me, this is the brilliance of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It's the way it takes so many concepts and all of these Victorian novels and combines them together. Even having hints of, the previous leagues, having characters like, Lemire Gulliver, and of course the Scarlet Pimpernel, Percy Blakely and his wife, as well as Dr. Sims and, etc. All of this really comes to a head, actually not in the story, the actual comic, but in the New Traveler's Almanac, which is at the end of the second graphic novel. And this is basically a world-building exercise where Alan Moore takes us through more or less a trip around the world by continent and hits every single hidden secret place ever mentioned in these books. I mean, it is mind-blowing, the number of references in this almanac afterword text, if you will. I mean, the references, bringing together, and yes, reading these books, it did. I had such a bigger appreciation. It's like going into Avengers and, that shot where Captain America and Black Panther are, outrunning everyone against Thanos in Infinity War. You get that because they, why they're running ahead. If you're a fan of those characters, you get those little moments. So yeah, it was worth it. And you may just discover some books that you could really appreciate. I hope you enjoyed this video, and it was a good look, or at least a slight look at the advantages of reading all the material that went into this masterpiece. I enjoyed it. I hope this is good insight for you. And as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. See you guys in the next video.